Absolutely.
Oh,
You go ahead, man who lives in the UK, go vote for Trump.
Amanda, we're live and you're in the wrong spot. Give me a second. Hello, everybody. Thank you very much for coming again tonight. Yeah, audio is hopefully good, but we'll fuck up on video tonight. That's what we'll do. Tonight we are going to discuss the shitstorm that is American politics. So I don't know. The debate was wonderful. The last 4 years with Trump has been wonderful. It's just been, yeah. So we have a nice panel tonight. So what we'll do is we'll just jump straight into it. We'll run the intro and we'll jump straight into it.
No.
There we go, and we have everyone here tonight. So, as I said at the start, thank you all very, very much for coming, and what we'll do is we'll work around the room for the new people. We have Mel tonight with us. This is Mel's first time joining Open Mic, although she has been here before. And we also have Chris. So, Mel, if you want to do a wee shout and let everyone know who you are and where they can find you.
I'm Scientist Mel. So I do science things, and sometimes that overlaps with current issues because, you know, look at what's going on in the U.S. You know, I feel like I'm taking crazy pills every day. So, but you can find me, scientistmel.com is my website. I have a YouTube channel, Saturday mornings, or where I just talk about the latest in science news and sometimes a particular topic. And usually my viewers are like, hey, could you talk about this? And I do that. And then on Sundays, I have This Week in BS with Nervardia, and we talk about the latest and greatest in bad science, This Week in BS. And she's in Australia, so shout out to her. But yeah, and I'm on Twitter, and you know, just science is not, you just Google that.
Thank you. And Chris, you've been here before, I think. Yeah, definitely twice, maybe twice.
I don't know if I was on this show, but yeah.
No, not this one.
Not this one. Newcomer. So, anyone who doesn't know of Chris, Chris is ex-Scientologist. So, Chris, if you want to give a wee bit of quick synopsis of who yourself is.
Yeah, I former cult member, got out about 7 years ago, have been advocating, pushing, educating, talking about cults, high control, authoritarian situations and groups, which of course aligns perfectly with, you know, political talk. So it kind of goes in that direction. Sometimes, but mostly I'm about the psychology and sociology and even the neuroscience of belief and thinking. And I just love, basically, I think about thinking a lot. So that's kind of where I'm coming from. So.
And you know, everybody else knows we have the regulars. We have Rib here, who is now Stephen. He went through a slight rebrand, so if anyone gets a message from Stephen, it used to be Rib. And we also have Dave, and we have the beautiful Amanda with us, as always. So, I am in Ireland. I know that's not going to probably hold back from some of the people in Ireland on the panel tonight, who is fucking dying to go mad. So, what I will do first is I will just lean over and, Stephen, as an Irishman, do you want to say anything before the Americans that have something invested actually get to make a point? And don't rant for an hour. Go on, don't rant for an hour. How do you feel?
Well, I mean, like, that kind of depends on how much time you're going to give me. How I'm going to go with it. Because...
Will you bring up a topic, Steve? What annoyed you the most, right, of the debate the other night, right? What triggered you the most? What did you see on it? What did he say on it that really got your... Oh, look at his face. And then we'll go with that.
Want one thing?
Just the one. We'll start with one.
Just one? Fuck. I think that what, like, genuinely annoyed me the most, and it's not even... actually, surprisingly, it's not something that Trump did. It's something that Biden didn't do. I think that the Democrats, they need an attack dog. They need somebody, not even necessarily like Bernie. I'm talking about a guy by the name of Richard O. Jetta. I don't know if any of you know him. He ran for Senate in West Virginia. He was relentless in his attacks against who he was running against, and that's the type of person that you need to run against Trump. As soon as he said something, instantly, like, jump in, cut over him, and be like, hold on there now. You want to talk about this? Well, like, I'm going to go to examples X, Y, Z of why you are guilty of this. That's what you need. And Biden just didn't do that. Yeah, he told him to shut up a few times, but that was the kind of the most aggressive that he got.
But do you not think if they go against Trump with someone more aggressive, that Trump is just going to lie his way out of it? If Trump is willing to say anything in response, I don't think you can have someone that's going to attack him.
It was a strategic move, guys. He didn't do that on purpose.
Yeah, and I agree that was the way to go.
Yeah, they're trying to present themselves as the adults in the room compared to Trump's temper tantrum, childlike behavior.
That's exactly the read that I felt like.
I don't know that it's the right move, but it is definitely purposeful.
Yeah.
Manda asked me this the other day. She asked
the
me.
right move because Trump is so abhorrent and such a child that by standing there and acting like the adult in the room, he proved him to be the idiot little kid that he is. And he broke it, like when he called him a clown, I audibly gasped. I was like, shit, that was not good. Like I could see
I thought that was brilliant. I thought that was the perfect level of insult.
When I was so I caught probably the last 45 minutes or so of the thing. I wasn't certain if I'd be able to handle that much time looking at Trump, and I did. I was quite proud of myself. So I was watching this, and it felt like in the last portion, it was like at the climactic part, where all the energy is escalating, and it felt like Joe Biden was Trump's daddy. I just got that vibe so much. Yeah. He was just like, would you shut up, man? He's just like, I felt like he was putting him in his place, and it between him and the moderator, which I believe who is from Fox News.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. He seems to be the only real news guy, actually.
Yeah, Chris Wallace is very good for being on Fox for who he is.
Yeah, I said that to Robbie numerous times. But for fuck's sake, Trump went after Biden's dead son.
Yeah.
Okay? Like, how is there anybody out there that watched that debate and went, yeah, that's my guy? Mm-hmm. Especially the stand by shit and all of it. It was disgusting and it was an embarrassment because this is the president of our country and everybody in the world is watching because right now we're a fucking reality show.
Stand back.
I mean, like, kind of on that point, I mean, like, the kind of sad thing is that, yeah, there was people that was watching Trump that night and thought, yeah, that's my guy, and, give it to him, like, and it doesn't matter how abhorrent it is and how, like, ridiculous it is to go after somebody's dead son. Like, so there's like layers to that. Okay, first off, his son isn't running for president, Joe is. Secondly, he's dead, which is just like a dick move anyway. And then thirdly, it's totally fucking irrelevant. Like, Joe was running.
No, I know why he did it. I know exactly why he did it because it was deflection. Because when his son was at the Republican National fucking thing, whatever, everybody said he looked like he was on coke.
Yeah.
So he brings it back and is like, your dead son did coke. Like, I knew exactly what the fuck he was doing, and it was
that movie so bad. And not only that, Trump was trying to get a rise out of Joe.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly what he was doing.
Yeah.
What can I do to make him lose his mind?
Right.
To everybody, because that's been the entire bill and what Trump's been pushing is that Joe's this senile old man. Okay, yeah, he's old. So is Trump. You're going to lose certain aspects of your mind, whatever, but it's not as bad as he puts it forward. Yes, Joe is a stutterer. But the fact of the matter is Joe was freaking prepared. He had his notes. He was ready to go. Trump shows up and he's like, okay, lights, camera, action. I'm just going to say whatever I want. I cannot imagine working for Trump. I cannot imagine what it's like to be
it's pretty.
Jay, thank you very much for joining, and Quentin, thank you very much for joining as well. Jay, you just jumped in there. Have you something to add?
I think a lot of what we saw with the debate was him listening to Stephen Miller. Those are Stephen Miller tactics right there. I was in a short conversation with Beckel last night on Praise's channel, and they got into this little bit of discussion on Trump being a racist. I think it was Red Fang and him. Yeah, it was Red Fang. And Beckel, he announced his frustration with Trump being a racist, and all I said was, you know what? All I have to do to vote for somebody different is look at how 2020 has gone with this pandemic and just go, you know what? It's time for someone else to take the wheel. You can fucking go. That's all I have to do to make a decision on voting for anyone else but Trump.
Yeah.
That's it. I don't have to get into the racism aspect. I don't have to get into his shady business practices. I don't even have to start citing his niece's book, which is pretty fucking interesting. All I have to do is look at this year, the way this guy handled a pandemic, and the way he has operated and the way he's presented himself as a commander-in-chief. For shit's sake, the military we couldn't even talk about the shit that was going on with Bill Clinton during the whole Monica Lewinsky thing. And then we got that fucking clown. And you want to use dead son and shit? For fuck's sake. When Cheney was running, Cheney was paranoid because one of his daughters was a lesbian. And that got used against him. And now they're doing
somebody in the face and got away with it.
I know. But they were but the political tactics have now just like, oh, okay, that's going to be a kind of a something to stumble over there because they got a daughter that's come out as being homosexual, but now they're going after somebody's kid and their drug habit. Like, yeah, great way to show sensitivity there for all those opiate abusers that you were supposed to take care of years ago. Remember that opiate issue that you were going to solve? Yeah. Good job, Trump. Good job.
He left in the hands of his fucking son-in-law. I don't know why. But if you notice, they so obviously tried to taint the debate beforehand. First it started with the, he's on some kind of drugs or something. Let's both do drug tests, which again I felt like was a deflection because Trump just clearly seems to be on something. He just does. But if you look back to 2016, he said the same shit about Hillary. He was like, let's take a drug test. She's got to be on something. And since that didn't work, they went through the whole fucking earpiece thing.
Remember when they scooped? Oh, she's sick. Look, the old lady's sick. She's going to die. Got to vote for Trump. He's healthy as a horse, even when he eats an entire bucket of KFC.
Well, that was one of the things that the Russians really focused on. They would every other day be putting out different conspiracies about she has AIDS, she has cancer, which were obviously false, but
her emails, guys.
That guy never stopped. There's still people. You're right. You were right.
They still talk about it on Fox every fucking day. My parents have Fox on all day long. At least once a day I hear that shit about her emails.
Let it go. Let it the fuck go. She's not running again. She's over. She's not relevant. The same with Obama. He did his 8 years. He's done. Let it go. Here's a copy. Here's my copy of Frozen. Fucking listen to the song.
Yeah, they're not.
What about you, Chris? What was the thing that triggered you the most?
Yeah, I was going to try and get Chris to have a wee chat there and give him a chance. Go on ahead, Chris.
We watched about the first 40 minutes or so, and then we were done.
Sorry, I'm well bell-fed today. I apologize, Chris.
Hey, no worries. We watched about the first 40 minutes. It was pretty obvious what was happening at that point and where it was going, so I was done. People said Rogan would have done a better job. I don't think that's true. I think Rogan would have liked the chaos of it, and I think he would have encouraged more of it. But I could be wrong about that. But I think Wallace did the best he could on that. But they really should have cut the mics, because that would have actually raised the level of the debate enormously. Just that one simple act could have changed the entire character of that debate.
That's the network with the power to do that, isn't it? The network is the one that has the power to cut the mics, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I imagine so.
Okay. But they could have given Chris the fucking button.
They should have just given him a button, right?
I don't
know. Especially during the... See, I think they kind of wanted some back and forth, not in the 2-minute zone, but after that, right? And Trump would never give him that 2 minutes straight, and that's a debate tactic. That's rhetoric. That's throw him off. He was clearly in there with a strategy to distract, dismay, throw him off. Do whatever he could to get Joe off his game, and he got him off the game right away. I mean, he said shut up. Trump knew he was getting to him, and so he was just had to keep doing that. And the power there, of course, is that he could keep doing it because the mic was on. So if they had turned it off, just even for those 2 minutes where they could just make their clean statements, both sides, that would have really changed things.
I have to say, I'm actually kind of glad it happened the way that it did, because it shows, I actually enjoyed the last portion of it, because I really felt, I'm like, all of this stuff where they're saying that Joe is senile and he's too old and he can't handle stuff. You saw a person who has had it with the shit. I mean, you saw a person that's like, I am sick. I'm going to drop an F-bomb. I don't do that often. But it's like, he's like, I am sick of this motherfucker. I am so sick of him. I know y'all are too. Do you feel me, America? Do you see this crap? This is what you voted for. So I feel like we needed that.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
Exactly. I was thoroughly entertained. I'm not even going to lie. I laughed out loud throughout the entire freaking debate. I cried.
Are you, America, happy with your bread and circuses? Are you?
Yeah. We were Joe looking right at the camera and talking direct to the people was also a good move. I actually liked that.
Another thing I liked was when Chris Wallace was like, Joe Biden, if you have a word, and he's like, well, it's hard to get a word in with this clown. And I was just like, oh my God. I literally started wheezing. And, a lot of people say, oh, well, Joe Biden shouldn't have stooped down to Trump's level. I don't think he really did. I think he just kind of expressed that he's not going to put up with Trump's bullshit.
I take offense to that.
Away. He was like, no, I shouldn't have said that, this guy. Like,
but it's like,
was nowhere near Trump's level.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, Manda asked me a question, right, which I will ask to the panel now, and I'll give my answer up front and say what I did. Manda asked me if Bernie had got to that stage, do I think that it would have been a better performance, or how I would have thought that it went?
I think it would have been the same.
What I said to Manda is I think it probably would have been more of a dumpster fire, because Bernie would have shouted, he would have made more of a point, then Trump would have come back with more, and it would have escalated. I do think that through that it would have helped. No. I think through that it would have helped Bernie look better and helped Trump look worse in the long run, in the overall thing. But the actual debate itself, I think, would have been more of a dumpster fire.
I think you're right, but I think Trump would have spent the entire time screaming communist.
Yes.
Yep.
That's what I said to Amanda. I said he would just scream socialist at him the whole time.
And what I love is that they said, oh, we don't want Bernie to win the nomination because all the Republicans are going to do is call him a socialist, and that's what they're doing with Joe Biden, who's the furthest thing from fucking socialism other than the Republican Party. But I think with Bernie, I don't think he would have said like, oh, would you shut up, and called him a clown. He would have looked at him and be like, are you going to stop? Are you going to let me talk? Or are you scared that I'm going to outdo you when it comes to ideas? Well, I think it would have been a dumpster fire, but more so on Trump's. And I think Bernie would have been able
Trump would have looked
go
worse.
more on the offense rather than being on the defense the whole time like Biden was.
I think the phrase that I used for Manda was, I think the phrase I used for Manda was, it would, overall, it would look worse, but it would look worse mainly more for Trump.
Yeah.
Well, my wife.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, because like even on some of the stuff that like Trump said about like healthcare, okay, I wish that Biden was in favor.
So do I.
Yeah, I wish he was. But like, had it have been Bernie there, he would have been like, yeah, I want to give everybody healthcare, and you want to take it away from people. 20 million people have lost their health insurance under you, and that's excluding COVID. That's before COVID. So you want to take people's healthcare away? I want to give it back to them. That's way of kind of clapping that down.
Let's not forget that there's actually court records where the Trump administration, even though he says he wants everybody to keep, the pre-existing condition clause, they have been fighting that secretly in court.
Yep.
Yeah.
They've been trying to overturn that in the background, and yet he still sits there and tries to sell that bullshit to the. Well, yeah. And real quick, I thought it was interesting. My wife said something to me before I was leaving for work. She said, "Yeah, apparently Trump's campaign or his election staff, they're not hearing any changes. They don't want to hear. Trump's not going to agree to any new rules for the next debates." I said he didn't. I was like, he didn't follow the rules from the first one. What the fuck are they? What they expect?
Yeah, that was pointed out.
Him arguing about the rules.
He didn't.
As far as like the pre-existing condition thing, the thing that's really, really, really going to be bad, and we're not talking about it enough, is the fact that COVID-19 is so rampant, and it's not the fatalities so much as it is the comorbidities. We have people with permanent lung damage, heart damage, kidney damage, brain damage, all kinds of damage that's associated with that virus. Are they not going to be covered now because they were it? I mean, are they going to do antibody tests and go, hey, you've been exposed to COVID-19, you have antibodies for it, or you have T cells for this, which means you've been exposed to it. Therefore, we're going to hike up your premiums on your healthcare insurance and put this huge deductible, and we're going to have to make you wait for about 6 months before we'll cover anything, just in case this is actually a problem for you. It's just, so this is all a freaking nightmare when you consider
and that reminds me
the awfulness of COVID-19.
That reminds me of another thing that I saw in the debate. I don't know, but I'm sure Mama Atheist probably saw this if she watched the whole thing. This was maybe right around the halfway point, but Trump, when he was talking about COVID, was all like, oh, the scientists, we got to listen to the scientists. But then when it started about the climate change, he was all like, well, you know, we can't listen to all these scientists here now. What the fuck did they know? The hypocrisy was glaring.
He didn't listen to anybody. He didn't listen to scientists. And I feel for Dr. Anthony Fauci, because he's like, well, Fauci said because we closed the borders, that helped. I'm like, well, it helped this much.
Yes.
I mean, that's
when he said about the climate, he was like, well, we have the lowest carbon, which I don't even know what the fuck he means by that.
Yeah, what does that mean?
Whatever he means,
we're like number 3 in the world, second or third in the world. China's number 1. We're like number 2.
Yeah,
not like
we're number 3 after India.
At 3 after India?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But, and then he's all we care about is having clean air and clean water. And it's like, motherfucker, no. Because he has no faculty. Under fucking laws. He doesn't give a shit.
Fuck her, please. Fuck her, please. I like her. Sorry, that was hilarious.
Like
Fuck her, please.
Clean air or crystal clean water, and then like immaculate air and immaculate water.
Do you know why that is, Stephen? Do you know why that is? Because he's aiming.
Immaculate water?
He is aiming to try and create a forest city like Endor, like we have over here in Europe. We have all these wonderful.
Yes, I forgot about all of the forest cities that
so how
exist here. Yeah.
The only reason the wildfires are happening in California because they're not cleaning up the
Get your rakes out. They're not raking your leaves.
Wait. As a resident of California, I have purposely seen people not rake their forests.
Bastards.
I'm sorry.
They were asking for it. They were asking for it by leaving up all the trees and the dead leaves.
I was watching the debate with my son, and literally, like, as soon as he brought up climate change, my son goes and grabs my arm. He's like, Mom. And I'm like, fuming, screaming at the TV.
I have to ask, did anybody else laugh out loud when they were going about the military thing, where they were yelling, where it was right after Trump was attacking Biden's kid and all of that? They're going, and the moderator said, gentlemen, we've already been through this. We need to stick to the issues. I would like to talk about climate change. Joe Biden goes, so would I. Off my couch.
Right, well, if we can try and formalize this a wee bit more than all of us just fucking screaming, I'm going to take a hint from Stephen, and I'm going to work my way around the panel. Put that finger away.
Sorry.
Well,
Can I start first?
Oh, he's dying for it. He's fucking dying for it. Right, I will ask the question.
Give it to Stephen first.
Mamba, shush. Right.
Oh yeah,
what?
I gotta say something.
Oh, I'm gonna kick you
guys. Nice.
There we go. Right. What is the worst thing that Trump said? Stephen, go first.
Well, that was actually a little... Okay, so I phrased it that way because, like, I think that it's going to get people thinking and stuff like that. But,
and you're
like,
a cunt.
For my personal answer, it's actually something that he didn't say. And it is when he was asked point blank by not only the moderator, but also by Joe, do you denounce white supremacists? He didn't say yes. And I'm like, huh? That is the easiest question on the planet to answer. Anybody on this panel genuinely do this. Ask me if I denounce white supremacists.
You mean the answer isn't stand back and stand by?
Oh, but like genuinely ask me that question, any of you.
Steven, do you denounce white supremacy?
Yes. Do you see how easy that was?
Was screaming at the screen like it's yes or no, it's yes or no, it's yes or no. Like,
but what would you like me? What would you like me to call them before I give my answer? What would you like me to call these white supremacists?
Yeah, or what's an example or something like that? Like just like, it literally just made like it was just like a fucking like mask off moment. And look, like the reason why he didn't fucking denounce anybody is because I'm not 100% sure that like if Trump is a white supremacist himself, but definitely most of his fucking voters are, and most of his fucking supporters are, and that's why he's not going to go out there and say, "Oh, white supremacists are bad people."
Even if he did denounce them, they'd still fucking vote for him.
Yeah,
what the fuck is he scared of?
They would say, "Oh, he was just saying that for the TV," but we know. We got the secret.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. To be fair, Leo, that's a very good point. I mean, like, if he did,
he could do literally, and he could eat a fucking dog alive on camera, and they'd still vote for him.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
but
it's just because I mean, like in that scenario, had he have actually denounced them, like. They're in a position now where it's just like, well, I either vote Green or I vote for Biden, and that's not going to happen. So I'm obviously still going to vote for Trump. So that's actually a very good point. I didn't even think of that.
Mm-hmm. If I can just jump in and say, a new person that has joined us in the community, a philosophical plumber. We're working on trying to get a wee interview with a man, although he's not free till like 7 a.m. my time. So I don't know what sort of an interview we're going to have. Yeah, I know. But if anyone hasn't subscribed to the philosophical plumber, give the man, Dave will post his link in the place, give the man a sub and check out the channel. Yeah, I've ruined the moment. Yes, I know.
Wait,
yes.
Who's next?
Next. Well, Dave's disappeared, so we'll go to Chris because he's next in my list. Chris.
Worst thing Trump said?
That's not what Rib said, if you can. Basically, what we're going to do is work down the list of the fucking god-awful things that the cunt said, probably in order of how bad they are. So you can go next.
It's tough for me to decide between the dead son remark and the his, let's just say, his response as he just elucidated on the white supremacy thing. Those are both troubling. To say the least.
Yeah, you're very nice, aren't you? They're troubling.
Of course, this isn't. The debate's not about changing hearts and minds. It's really about reinforcing and getting people to double down on what they already are thinking. There's this thing about the quest for the independence, or supposedly this unicorn of an American who hasn't decided who he's voting for yet. And I don't think such people exist. So certainly not as a large body of people who are just sitting there going, oh yeah, Trump, Biden, gee, I wonder which one I should vote for.
Unless you're David Silverman on Twitter, by the way.
This is where I think
my point, doesn't it? Because David Silverman is a little bit of a special snowflake.
Yeah. I think the Democrats are wrong. They shouldn't be going after voters to vote for them. They should be trying to demonstrate why people shouldn't vote for Trump. They don't vote for Democrats.
I think you can do both. There's no reason
I think they can do both. But
I mean, we really were lacking on policy talk in this thing, right? And have for quite some time. I mean, the 2016 thing wasn't any policy showdown either.
No.
Trump's not about that. And the fact that he just wanders in unprepared or maybe moderately prepared, I mean, I really think they could have been more savvy about taking advantage of that and hitting him with some stuff without hitting him with insults, hitting him with policy stuff that he would not have been able to respond to, that Americans might be able to understand. Yeah. Because it's hard to take the conversation to that level with most Americans, but if you can, please do, So that's kind of my take back on that.
I think figures seem to be his downfall. If you can actually hit him with figures that you're going to spend this, that's where when Biden actually started talking about the numbers that he wants to invest in this and to get this many jobs, Trump just loses it. All he can do is vague lies at that point.
Of course.
He will make up numbers too, of course. I mean, just what he does, Can
I touch on the David Silverman thing, Chris? Because I think you were being a little bit too charitable. I'm going to describe him the way I did in Nakasuchi of the Rage's stream last night. David Silverman is a reprehensible scum, fuck, dipshit, douchebag, asshole, motherfucker, cocksucker, piece of shit.
Do you know we don't swear in this channel, Leo?
Well, it's about David. So
How fucking dare you?
Oh my
Fuck you,
God.
Dave.
Systemic racism isn't real, Leo.
Right. Well, Dave, we will ask you next. We will ask you next, Dave. What do you think is the worst thing that you've seen third in the order now from the debate that Trump said?
To go with something different. I actually think the white supremacist stuff was the worst. But to go with something different, I will go with the fact where near the start where he turned around. So I'm debating you now. To the moderator
Chris, yeah.
because he couldn't follow the fucking rules.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that was just a shit point, Dave, and nobody could follow on from that. So that was
Well,
wonderful.
no, but I mean, like, it just kind of demonstrates what a perpetual child he is.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Well, you see, that's the thing.
He knew about the rules beforehand.
That's
He
something
knew
that I
he was
pointed
gonna
out to
have
Amanda.
2 minutes, and that Biden couldn't jump in, and that Biden was going to have his 2 minutes, and that he couldn't talk over him. But he can't fucking help himself.
No, that's exactly it.
Oh, yes,
He gets a fucking pass.
Have his fucking ego stroked, and he needs to be the center of everyone's
Everything
attention
all
all
the
the
time.
time.
Yeah.
And
He has
so-
his 2 minutes. Then Biden has his 2 minutes, and then Trump demands more time to respond.
I
Yeah,
need to respond to
yeah,
that right now.
I felt
my diaper.
it reminded me and felt very reminiscent of whenever I was having Darth Dawkins on the channel. That's what it reminded me of.
Yeah.
You know, the constant, I'm just going to keep repeating my script over and over and over again. You know, I can't remember where, but if you're going to keep if you're going to persuade people of stuff, keep your lies simple, be loud, and repeat them over and over and over again, and people will believe you. And Trump has that down to a T, and he's such a perpetual little fucking child that people give him a pass. When he interrupts, you ask him to stop, he just doesn't. When you ask Biden to stop, he'll maybe go once more, but then he stops because he acts like an adult. And he, being the person that he is, like most of us in this panel, if you're asked to do something, you're polite. You will just do it. But Trump doesn't care. It's me, rhetoric, and I'm just going to keep repeating it. Listen to me. This is the way it is. It's, yeah.
See, that's why I don't debate flat earthers or young earth creationists or people who think B12 cures cancer, because after a while, I had like a bottle of wine before I debated Tommy Hall in the Geek Room, and after a while I was glazing over. I had finished the second one and I still handed him his ass, and I'm like, why am I here? And the Geek Room, Frank from the Geek Room still apologizes to me. That was like almost 3 years ago. It's like, I'm really sorry I had you debate Tommy Hall. I'm embarrassed by that.
Okay,
But
so I don't know who that is. Is he a flat earther, a young earth creationist, or both?
he's a guy who does landscaping who thinks B12 cures cancer. He's a follower of G-Man. So
Oh,
he's part of that group.
fuck.
He's part of that group, and G-Man hates me too. As
Well, you guys know that G-Man won the presidential debate, right?
Of course he did.
G-Man always wins.
Of course
Yep.
he's mad that I want to debate him.
Actually, it was Gavin Harleman that won that debate.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah, it was.
Well, we're not even going to I'm just going to point this out. We're not even going to go down that route of them fucking assholes. I'm going to move on next to Mel, and I'm going to go, Mel, what, apart from what has been mentioned before, do you think was one of the worst things that Trump said?
Oh God, you know, you could just go down a list. There's so much there that I think the outside of the white supremacist thing, that by far was unbelievably horrible. The attack on Joe Biden's child, that was horrible. The attack on our veterans,
One!
that was
One! Don't steal fucking everyone else's answers, woman!
I know I'm not. I'm just saying that I can't possibly top any of that. So, the consistent gaslighting.
Yeah.
He is such a freaking narcissist. And having been a victim
Pathological.
of a narcissist, I'm sitting here and I'm like, I don't know. I don't know how many other people, and I don't have any episodes associated with narcissists so much anymore or anything like that. But he's just a freaking massive trigger button for people who have had to deal with constant gaslighting, abusive individuals. You feel like I said before, I feel like I'm on crazy pills every single day living in this country because he just lies. And people are like this, Congress, they'll say, oh yeah, he's lying. And then nothing happens. Nothing happens. And so just being able, just anything he says is so, I can barely get through any of it. But the fact that Joe Biden was treating him like a child was fantastic and made it quite entertaining. But the gaslighting, the constant lies, the one moment, oh, scientists are great. Oh, but not these scientists. Oh, and Dr. Fauci. And I'm like, no. I have a diet crush on Dr. Fauci. I'm not even going to lie. I have a bit of a diet crush on Dr. Fauci. I love him. So
Sorry, I looked away. You have a small crush on Dr. Pepper?
Diet Dr. Pepper.
Yeah. But, to sit there and use Dr. Fauci and use a reputable man who would go in and would put on the gear and treat an Ebola patient because he didn't want the people that work for him to do things he wasn't willing to do himself. I'm like, that's almost like when people misspell Mr. Rogers' name. Don't say you love Mr. Rogers and put a D in his last name because you don't love him like I do. So that's how I feel. And so when you start using scientists and really reputable people who have dedicated their lives to saving the lives of other people and go, well, Dr. Fauci said, I know he freaking didn't, you piece of shit. Sit down, be quiet. You don't listen to people at all, and I can't stand you. Go eat like 13 Big Macs and have a coronary.
What Dr. Fauci didn't say?
Do what?
What are you saying that Fauci didn't?
Well, he was using Dr. Fauci to say, well, Dr. Fauci even said that me closing the borders helped by this much. And then he didn't listen to anything else he had to say. And that makes me nuts.
Cherry picking.
He name dropped him about the mask too, though. He said, I was following his instructions about the mask, is what he said.
Which wasn't what he totally twisted his words there.
Exactly. Which is all Trump can ever do.
Right.
So,
well, if we can swap it round now, and if I can ask, and we'll jump to Quentin and give Quentin the first chance on this, what is the worst thing that Biden said?
Damn it, I was really hoping you would stick with the Trump thing. I really didn't have any problems with what Biden was trying to say. I found his responses hilarious most of the time. I just wish he would have said something more productive whenever Trump said, Proud Boys stand by and stand back. Like, I just really wish he would have said something more important.
Amanda, your hands went up in the air. You looked like you had something to say. Go.
Well, I mean, aside from the standby thing, when he talked about, spread all those lies about mail-in ballots, and he told his base to go keep watch on the polls, which is fucked.
Yeah, poll watchers.
It's not okay. So he's asking his base to go, intimidate voters into voting for him or not voting at all, and they're doing it already.
Yeah.
With fucking guns and shit and camo like a bunch of douchebags. Like, it's disgusting.
I know voter intimidation is illegal, but is it a felony? I can't remember.
After that, Leo, Chris had his hand in the air.
Yeah, it's just in answer to your question about Biden, I actually thought of something that I commented on at the time. My wife and I both thought it was a bit off the rails. Kamala Harris had earlier stated pretty emphatically, and I went and fact-checked it, and she actually did say this, that there was reason to doubt, stay away from, not take vaccines if they are developed before, if we happen to hit the gold mine early on this thing. Like right now, the estimate is end of the year, early next year.
Yeah, I wouldn't take that.
Right? And but the way it was communicated, and this is important, because we're talking about, average Joe, low information voter here, is that it shouldn't be trusted because it's connected to Trump. And this came up early on in the debate, and Biden said she didn't say that, and Trump correctly said no, she did. And then Biden tried to clarify, but it was actually kind of more of the same. And that I didn't really like that very much, because I don't think we should be discouraging people from taking vaccines under almost any circumstances. You know what I mean? Especially not having them do a personality.
Poor Leo's sitting there very, very politely going, right, Robbie said hand up twice, so now I'm putting my fucking hand up and I'm getting a go. Okay, Leo, would you like to address what Chris says, or are you going to ask a different question? Because I'd like an answer to what Chris said first.
I agree with Chris, but I would say that given Trump's record, we have a thorough precedent not to trust him or the people that he associates with, at least on the general. But the thing with Trump in this debate, I don't think there is one thing that is the worst thing that he said. I think it's just the whole debate. For me, the worst thing is, because I look at debates from a philosophical perspective, the fact that he consistently kept interrupting his interlocutor and the moderator is proof positive that he lost the debate. Like, you cannot, from a philosophical perspective, argue that Trump came anywhere close to a victory of that debate for that reason and that reason alone.
Can I push back a little bit on that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Here's why.
Of course, yeah.
I completely agree with you that I mean, don't get me wrong here. This is no apologia for Trump, right? But I've seen a lot of debates over the years on YouTube from atheists versus religious folks and skeptics and flat earthers and this, that, the other thing. And generally speaking, this is the only debate I ever see critiqued on manners. You know what I mean?
Actually agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I agree that Trump was not acting in any way presidential, and that is a negative on him.
Is it manners or is it decorum, though?
Well, I mean, it's same. We're talking etiquette, manners, etc. It's just a matter of, are you being the adult or are you not? I'm not trying to say that all these YouTube debates that generally are a little ridiculous, are the model. But I'm just pointing out that the logic of that kind of strikes me a little wrong. That's all.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Can we hear what Mel has to say about the vaccines?
Shut your mouth, stop taking control. Rib was next. He had his fucking hand up for ages, okay?
Mel had her hand up for ages.
She's after Rib. Are you looking in the private chat?
She has science.
Rib, go with your notes, man. What? Come on, you've got loads of notes. You're down here. You haven't got any of them used tonight.
I have loads of notes.
Weird.
So yeah.
So
again, look, I just don't think, like, my kind of biggest criticism of Biden is that he didn't go nearly as hard against Trump as he could have and should have, because Trump only has about 5 things that he has in his head at any one time, and he will routinely use those same 5 things when he is attacking people. You look back at the last general election, it was Hillary's emails, it was she is the establishment, it is this, is that, the other thing. He kept going over the same 5 things. So I mean, look, this is not to kind of say that it's okay that he did this. Obviously it is not. It's deplorable that that Trump brought up Bo and Hunter, but I mean, Joe should have known that he was going to bring up Hunter, right? Sorry, he should have known that. And something that you can so easily come back at with is, hey, dude, there was a massive news, breaking news all over the states not a few days ago, saying that you'd already paid $750 fucking in taxes, and what's this? $72 million you conveniently gave to your daughter as a form of tax evasion. You want to talk about which one of us has the fucking worst kids? That's what we're like. I really know this stuff, so Biden should know this stuff. That's my kind of thing. If I know it, and if I can kind of say this off the top of my head and this, that, and the other thing, then Joe should be able to as well. That's my whole thing.
Okay, Chris, would you like to address that? And we'll jump to Mel, because I think you had an address that. No, or are you just in agreement?
Oh no, I was just agreeing completely with that.
Perfect. That makes it short and easy, right? Mel, it's all. Everybody's got their hand up, man. I'm trying not to be rude and offend everybody. It's fucking shit. I'm in high school now. Can I go to the toilet, sir? Mel, go on.
Okay, so in regard to the FDA and all of that stuff and the CDC, they're both compromised. We need to face the fact that the FDA and the CDC are compromised because of the fact they have to change. It comes from top down on what they put on their website. First, masks are okay, then they're not okay. And a lot of that comes from the narrative that the White House pushes. Fauci has been wear a mask from the very freaking beginning.
Yep.
This isn't anything that's changed medical professionals across the board. So when it comes to the FDA, I would not. I've actually signed up to do a vaccine study. I'm going to run it by my friend Doc Savage first, who actually is a team lead on a COVID-19 vaccine out in Europe. He got that job around a month ago. He got that job about a month ago.
Definitely have to get Doc Savage back on. We did have an interview. I looked the other day. It was 5 months ago. And I flipped through a few of it. He did make predictions of what was going to happen from 5 months ago. So it would be interesting to see if they came true. But yeah, definitely.
Yes. So what he says, now keep in mind he helped make the HPV vaccine. He's worked in pandemic response. He's just like, he is so befuddled and overcome by the complete negligence of the United States and how they handle this pandemic. If there is a vaccine that's coming out and it's pushed rapidly, that's not enough time to show that it is safe, because it takes at least 18 months for a person study. When you get to human trials, and we're in human trials right now for several different vaccines, it takes 18 months to show that there's no other mitigating any other conditions that pop up. That's put in place to ensure that something's safe. Now, here's what's going to happen. If for whatever reason, it may be unlikely, but if for whatever reason that something in this vaccine causes a reaction, and Oxford had to shut a particular vaccine study down because of the fact somebody had some kind of illness. Turns out it wasn't related to the vaccine, which is good. But given the media, given how anti-vaxxers eat up every single thing that's wrong with a vaccine, if we don't do our due diligence and make certain that a vaccine is safe across the board, and we try to rush it into production, we're likely to have more pushback on actually accepting a legitimate vaccine than if we didn't, dot our I's and cross our T's. So I've been contacted to participate in a vaccine study. I'm not certain that I want to do that yet until I run it by my friend Doc Savage, who is he's like a world expert on that. He sent me his resume because he did a talk at the college where I work. It was 13 pages long and had an appendix. I didn't even know he was that cool. I knew he was cool, but didn't know he was that cool. So I'm like, okay, dude. So, and he's the team lead on this other one. So I trust him over the FDA right now because who's in charge. They've rolled back so many protections that pushing a vaccine to market before it's been thoroughly tested is going to be counterproductive and feed the anti-vaxxer rhetoric.
This is what worries me about the people that are coming now that in the UK that are talking to me. We have very good standards. You can see what's happening from Oxford and how they are progressing each study. But we've just signed up for this other international thing that looks like it's going to end up allowing governments to trust the results of other agencies or other governmental organizations in other countries that do not have the same level of scrutiny.
Well, if I can bring it back on topic, if I can ask if we can bring it back on topic, Chris, you had one thing to say. You've got your hand up here. If you want to either address this and then we move on, or then bring it back on topic if you can.
Yeah, no, we were talking about this from the debate, and the reason I brought it up was not to get into a science debate about the efficacy of vaccines that are or not pushed through. Dr. Fauci has gone on record as saying that we'll probably have a vaccine early to mid next year. I don't know how that counters up against your statement about 18 months, but that's what Fauci said.
It takes about 6 months. That's to just say we have a vaccine. Then it's going to take an additional 6 months just to make enough.
Right, and the distribution factor is actually what the conversation was about, so that they were saying maybe best case scenario right now, by summer, they'll have it rolling out in the tune of hundreds of millions of doses and really adequate numbers of doses by the fall. If everything goes okay and they get the approval by early next year, which is how they have it timetabled right now. So we'll see. But that actually had not a whole lot to do with the reason I brought it up. I brought it up as a weak spot in the debate because it's a way of tying science to a personality that you don't like. And we don't want to do that. We don't want to have the Trump scene not be trustable because it's somehow connected with Trump. That's not a reason to not want a vaccine. That's just as bad logic as the vaxxers, the anti-vaxxers, right? Yeah. We need it to be science-based, and you're making a science-based argument, but I brought it up because it was a PR point and a public education point. And
I agree. I mean,
we're really good on this, and we're not, and Kamala's getting trashed for it, and I think rightfully so, which is why I brought it up.
I will say I kind of disagree a little bit about that, because being a science communicator and an educator, I deal with the public a lot, and you do have to walk a fine line, and you do have to be careful in how you phrase things, in the fact that people take it and run with it. But
well, the way that Trump
know,
approaches everything is, you know, he appeases to his base. He screams to his base. A lot of his base is evangelist Christians. He has now set up that Amanda, what do you call it? The board that he has, that's all them Christians. They get together and they tell him what to do.
Well, the evangelical something earlier. It's all evangelicals, and they tell them to do shit. They're the ones that convinced him to kick trans out of the military, even though like most of the generals and stuff didn't want it. They were like, "The fuck." And he didn't even ask his administration. It was just like, yeah.
Well, if I can make the point that Biden is also a Christian. He is not an outspoken atheist. He doesn't declare himself as that. But we can make the point that even from his Christian point of view, he is more open to what is going on, more open to freedom of speech, more open to freedom of rights for people.
I just want a little bit of pushback on the FDA and CDC thing. You're right. We need to believe the science. But you also need to remember, Kamala's not wrong in this, because of the fact the FDA rolled back the hydroxychloroquine restrictions to allow it to be used and tested on people with COVID-19, and ended up killing a bunch of veterans.
It's funny he hasn't brought that shit up in a while. Like, he used to be all about the hydroxychloroquine, and
well, that's what I'm saying.
In a while.
He put pressure on the FDA to roll that back, to allow them to administer a malaria drug to people with COVID-19. That's what I mean when I say the FDA and CDC are compromised. They are, because they get pushed on by the White House. Kamala's not wrong, but yes, she could have handled it in a very different way. I agree with that.
Brian, you had something you wanted to say?
Yeah, well, actually, what I was going to do is moving away from the COVID stuff a little bit. It was back towards kind of what Rib was saying there about Biden not going hard enough on Trump. I am totally at the opposite end of the spectrum on that, and
me too.
And how it was handled. He does best and looks best when he lets Trump be the idiot up there losing his cool. And he wanted. That's why he brought up Hunter. That's why he brought that stuff up, to try to get. Once it turns into the dumpster fire, that's his wheelhouse. That's where he lives. That's where he performs best, and that's what his base likes to see. That's what they want to see up on that stage, is for him to be getting into this knockdown, drag out argument with Sleepy Joe and dazzling him with experience of being a blowhard asshole. So every time that he started to lose his cool, I was kind of facepalming. Every time Joe let him get into his head a little bit, it was pull it back, keep your cool. The best thing that I saw Joe do all night was when he said, "You know what? I'm not even going to talk to Trump. I'm going to look at the camera and talk to the American people." His vote, vote, vote speech. That was the best thing that he did all night.
Big time. I completely agree with that.
I agree.
Yeah.
That was great.
Red,
and let's be real, because you don't get a more high pressure situation than a presidential debate on international TV. I mean, Joe's under a lot of pressure.
As you say that, Christo, Joe. As you say that, Joe, from his personal point of view, is under a lot of pressure to perform well, to answer questions well, to put himself forward as an adult. And these are the things that he's looking at. These are the things he's double checking. He's making sure his notes are there all before he goes on stage. Before Trump goes on stage, I bet you he's having a Coke and a Big Mac and going, I ain't gonna scream, I ain't gonna scream. Like, he has no plan. There is no preparation, there is no plan. And it shows in the way he approaches everything. It's like, okay, there's a storm coming. Can we blow it up with a nuclear bomb? I've got a Sharpie pen. I'm going to cover my ass with a Sharpie pen. I know Manda loved that. For anyone who doesn't know. Go on, Manda. A short version.
What? No, it was just because it was the same time something came out about the whistleblower, I think. It was first starting to come out in D.C., and it was that day that he had gotten the report, and he went and did the thing with the Sharpie. I think it was a distraction. That was all.
But this is
I think Trump did prepare a little bit, because he actually kind of, at the very beginning, I was a little impressed by the fact that he was throwing some numbers around and talking a little bit of policy stuff, and I thought, wow, he must have done a little bit of prep. But admittedly, it was all gone by 20 minutes in. So
I think the stuff that he was, cognizant of in the beginning was just the same regurgitated shit he's been saying at all his rallies. So he just has it. He said it 1,000 times.
This is the thing, right? This is the thing. If you imagine, right, Donald Trump sitting down, he has been giving, obviously, from his staff, notes, summaries, something. They've tried. They have to do their fucking job, whether he's going to look or not. They have to do their job. And they've given him enough for the entire debate, as Biden's team has done, which is what he's doing beforehand. But Trump has looked at it, read the first page and went, fuck it, Twitter. And then he's went, fuck it, Big Mac. So that's why he's repeating the same thing over and over again, because that's literally all he's read. And if his staff have any sort of sense, they'll not put the effort in after the fucking first third, because they know he won't. So focus your attention on the first bit, because after 20 minutes, Trump's attention is gone. You're going to lose him. He's going to go off script.
Right.
Steven's got some rebuttals. Let's give him the floor here. Go on, Steven.
Yeah, no, okay, so I get what you guys are saying, okay, and I like totally understand like what you are saying and like where you are coming from and stuff like that. But I just think that the whole kind of this civility, and this word was kind of mentioned earlier, presidential. Donald Trump is president. That word has completely lost its entire meaning. It doesn't have a fixed meaning anymore. This whole kind of, we're on a stage, we're presidential candidates, and we're going to, debate the issues and stuff like that, but we're still going to stay civil. I think that's kind of has its place in the 1990s, and it's kind of been stuck there, and it probably should stay there. Look, I am not levying this accusation at anybody here, at all, right? I am not a political hack. Again, I'm not saying any of you, you haven't given me anything to kind of say that you are, so I'm not going to say that you are. Donald Trump has not been 100% bad the entire time for the last 4 years, right? He has genuinely done some good things, right? And one of those good things, it's the smallest thing that he has done. It's not even policy-wise, but the smallest thing that he has done will turn into the biggest and the most long-lasting thing, which is that he has changed the scope of how you campaign, of how you do rallies, of how you do presidential debates. All of these, they kind of have, they don't have to be, but they're more engaging, and you can get people behind you so much easier if you're kind of going out there and you are being kind of shooting from the hip and telling it how it is and all that sort of stuff. That's kind of that comes across to me, at least, as more real than the kind of cliches and the platitudes of it's if we band together as one, there's nothing we can't do. What the fuck does that even mean anymore? That just
I can understand what you're saying. I can understand what you're saying, because I'm Irish and we think the same. Manda's disagreeing with all your words. But
yeah, I know. I saw.
The point is, you're right that they have opened a genie bottle. Neither party is ever going to forget what's happened in the last 6 years.
Yeah.
How easily a lot of people were manipulated.
That's the thing. That's the only good thing that I can see coming from this and from what has happened. And all going well that we don't get enough. Oh, he's doing the fucking hand thing again. I see you, Leo. Okay, you're next. You're next, Leo. Right? The only thing the best thing I can see that comes out of this is because you know, the cliche phrase goes, it's always, you know, really bad before it starts to get good again. And people have tried with a lot of different rights to be changed, and people have tried to do a lot of things, especially with Black Lives Matter, what's happening now. You know, they've been suffering through that for many amount of years. But the fact that it's got so absolutely bad now, that you have a president, actually a man in leadership, one of the highest leadership points in the world, advocating for these sort of things now, that the populace that is there, and I do believe that most of the world is not fucking racist, just they are the loudest. And I think that because it's got so bad, there is now a focal point for the people who are generally quiet, who generally used to just, you know, turn the blind eye to that one loud person in the group, have now found that they've been, the other side has been empowered, and we now have to stop it. And I think that because Trump has made it so bad, that hopefully, if he does not get voted back in again, that there will be changes now, actual changes, and not just things, oh, we're going to plagiate to that and we're going to plagiate to that, because people used to let it slide. Now when they make a law, when they put something forward, it will be checked. People will want an actual change to be made. Leo's next. Leo's next. He had the fucking hand up first, Mel. Calm down.
I think Stephen hit the nail on the head there. It's people in this country, and we saw it not just with Donald Trump, but with Bernie Sanders too. They're sick and fucking tired of the same old contrived platitudes that these politicians have been putting out for the last 50 plus years. So when somebody does come in and says, look, this is a shit show, this is all going to hell, I'm going to help, I can fix this. People like hearing that. They like hearing something that's different than what the traditional politician is saying. Oh, well, you know, we'll get some stuff done. We'll work our way there. We got to vote for the lesser of two evils, though. People are tired of that. And they're tired of it because they're seeing that that type of politician and that type of political climate, I guess you could say, Donald Trump is not, he is not the problem. He is a symptom of the problem.
Yes, definitely, 100%.
Somebody like Donald Trump because of these contrived platitudes, these politicians have been putting out this kind of sitting on their hands, do nothing. Oh, well, you know, my hands are tied and everything, and that's exactly, I mean, I'm voting for Joe Biden, but that's exactly what he is.
I think a good description of him is he's a patsy. You know, he is a representation without even thinking of all the worst that has happened, and he just runs with it.
Yes. And I think both Bernie Sanders and Donald Trump are populists, but Bernie Sanders encapsulates what a true populist is. He's not just playing off of racism and bigotry and fear. He's actually talking about the actual legitimate problems that people recognize are happening, bringing that to the surface and saying, look, this stuff here that's been hidden underneath all these contrived platitudes that they beat down because they don't want you to know that those are the real problems because all the rich people are benefiting from it, they're actually causing it. These are the problems, and we got to do something about it, or we're going to end up with someone like Donald Trump, and lo and fucking behold, here we are.
Mel, go on then, Mel. Go on. Fuck's sake.
I think it's going to be a me and Leo versus some people the next little while. But...
Go for it, Mel. Go on. Get your 5 minutes in quick.
All right. So here's the thing. At around the time that Donald Trump won the presidency in 2016, I started my science communication work because I looked at the science literacy, the alternative fact stuff. I wanted to be another voice of reason. Somebody that you could engage, somebody that was not threatening, mostly. I apparently am threatening to a lot of people, but whatever, I can't control
You're
that.
threatening to Jill because you've got a set of tits. He doesn't talk to women at all.
If you're threatened, it just means you're doing something right.
Exactly.
I've
dealt with all kinds of stuff, but the thing is, having to deal in my current job, 70% of the people that I work with are poverty line. okay, I'm a budding chemistry professor, so I have to take really hard concepts and make them accessible. And that is the thing that politicians need to be able to do, to be able to take all of this jargon, all of this stuff, and make it relatable to people. So yes, Trump won because he said all the things that people. I'm in the Bible Belt. I'm in the Deep South. I don't even feel comfortable putting a Biden sign in my yard because everybody on my street is a Trump supporter and probably is packing heat. So I don't even feel comfortable doing that. I tried to give out free masks. They called me on a Facebook group. I was giving out free masks, offering myself as a resource with COVID-19. They said I had an Antifa agenda. I was indoctrinating them. I used to teach their kids biology out here as a high school teacher.
Oh, so they already don't like you.
So it's like, I'm like, and my mom, who lives across the street, was so afraid that I had to block people on Facebook and leave those groups because of how violent they were getting. So we're dealing with a grossly ignorant population who does not know how to critically think.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
So you're dealing with, and we're getting worse. The latest numbers from the National Science Foundation. It used to be 24% of Americans thought the sun revolves around the earth. It's now 27%. 24%, it's now 27%. We're getting dumber. Yeah. And so having to deal with that and the fact that people out here are indoctrinated primarily in religion, in what they're told, in the tradition. People treat politics like it's a football game. I'm always going to vote Republican because that's my team. You have to be relatable to them and make yourself accessible in an extremely non-threatening way. And the thing that got Donald Trump going is because he said all of the things that a lot of these people were thinking already. And he's like, oh, I can relate to that. He's saying it how I think. And so, yes, I agree. Politicians need to tap in to understand what it is that their constituents are thinking, but they need to not be horrible human beings.
Exactly.
That's the thing that's hard.
Yeah,
that's the thing that's hard.
Spackle, thank you very much for joining. If I can just say thank you very much for Holy for jumping in.
It's really important what you said there, Mel, is that it's not just that they're grossly ignorant. It is because that is true, but it's a willful ignorant. They're not just ignorant, they're uneducated, they're vitriolic, and the worst part about it, they're scared. And when people get scared, they'll do anything. And that's the problem. And Trump knows that. And so do the Republicans. They know these people are scared. They're scared of black people. They're scared of brown people. They're scared of Jewish people, gay people, trans people, anybody who isn't a conservative evangelical.
If you saw all of the ads out here in my town for like the senators, they were brown people or gangs, immigrants or gang members. They play on that.
If I can make a point of that, if I can just make a point on what Leo said, that is what Donald Trump is all about, is tribalism. He wants to increase the widespread beliefs of his tribe because that gives him power. Spackle, if you can go on ahead, then we'll jump to Rib, and then we'll go to Amanda, and then Brian.
It's no joke that, whether you're a Democrat or a Republican, conservative or liberal, there's enough studies to know how people's brains work, and it's been proven that conservatives tend to be more fear-based, and it's been proven that liberals tend to be more empathy-based. And all I'm saying that is not because one is better than the other. I actually think there's decent conservatives out there, and I'm a lefty, but I'm not far left. But what I was going to say is that both of these parties have really played into people being completely reactive in these traits. So all the conservatives I know, and I know many, many conservatives in my personal life, family members, they literally say, I can skip all the talking heads. I can just talk to them for a barometer of how things are going. They say, I'm afraid of X. I'm afraid of this. And so what they've really bought into is there's unrest in the country. I'm afraid for businesses. I'm afraid that there's going to be an economic collapse. I'm afraid of China. I'm afraid that there's a whole list of fears that are listed. And then, with Democrats, it's I need empathy. I need what's happening to blacks and police violence and things like that. And it's and none of these are like, nobody's connecting. Everybody's just completely reacting, and it's on both sides.
Manda, have you anything you'd like to add to that?
No, I'm good. I have to go. My kid fell off his skateboard and he's just fucking cut to ribbons. So
Oh my gosh.
I'm gonna go take care of that. But you guys have fun. Thanks for having me, guys.
Bye, Amanda.
Bye, honey. I'll text you. Rib, have you anything to add?
Yeah, no, I mean, like, as I kind of said, me and Leo were kind of on the same page on that one. I just think that, like, I just kind of, and like, this is not even about the debate or even, I guess, specifically about the kind of conversation tonight, but my kind of, like, overall, like, long-term, like, goal or dream or whatever is to have people from the Democratic wing of the Democratic Party become mainstream. Like, have candidates like Bernie, AOC, Ilhan Omar, Katie Porter, like, all of these people. Katie Porter, by the way, like, oh my God, she is so underrepresented and so underestimated. She's she's fantastic. She's fantastic.
Oh, the way she makes him squirm.
This is just, everybody's talking. Right, Rib, you go, then Brian, then Chris, and then we'll do a roundup because we've been going for a couple of hours.
But yeah, so like, that's kind of my, like, the current mainstream Democratic Party they're more centrist. They're not even really kind of left wing. They're sort of like Republican light or like diet Republicans.
Mm-hmm.
And I would kind of look for like actual leftists to come back. I'm a social democrat. I have a Bernie Sanders t-shirt on. I'm very upfront with my biases and with my views.
Are you biased at all?
Oh, I know.
I know about high-pitched and everything there. I didn't even mean to be sarcastically high-pitched.
But my kind of point, like, I just want like those kind of views to be normalized and to have probably not Bernie Sanders, because by the time that the 2024 general election comes around, he's going to be 186.
He won't run.
So yeah, he's probably not going to run again. But somebody like Bernie, somebody just a tad bit more aggressive and that's not going to hold back on the attacks against the people that he's running against, and that's fucking dream for me. So yeah, that's kind of the last thing that I'm going to say on it. I'll hand it over to the next person.
Chris, go on ahead. Would you like to make a summary of your opinions on this?
Skip right over me, man. Yeah.
Oh fuck! I forgot about Brian. Jesus, he had his hand up. I'm blaming Chris. He scratched his nose. He put his hand up. Go on, Brian.
All right. I wanted to talk about real quick what Leo and Mel, they came together on that point about selling the way that they're campaigning, the way that everything changed as of the 2016. It started at the Republican National Convention when we saw Trump. He just got up there and roasted every Republican that was vying for that office, and from there it's full momentum. This new method of campaigning, this new method of putting yourself out there, and it worked. It worked phenomenally. I mean, it was something never seen before, really, because even the polls were saying, "Oh, he's going to lose," and he did not. The thing that we need to take away from that, though, is that it worked, but you can't keep moving forward on smoke and mirrors, on this presentation. Presentation is just that. It's presentation. There has to be substance behind it, and his base will still stand by the notion that he's succeeded in all these things. Everything, his campaign promises have been filled. Because they're told that. They're ignore what the media is telling you. All the stuff that I said I was going to do, I've done it, or I'm still working on doing it. I'm working on it, and you can see the results of it. And it's all smoke and mirrors. It's all BS.
Yeah.
I got a little ranty. Sorry.
No, it's fine. That's basically what we've been doing all night. So, and Chris did the secret signal, so Chris is next.
It's jazz hands. The secret signal is jazz hands, guys.
Don't give it away! Don't give it away!
So, okay. I mean, obviously, we're talking about, this is expanded out into way more than the debate, right? And politics in general. And so, if we're going to talk about showmanship and politics, well, politicians are actors. And, this is developed into a science. This is no longer an art. Maybe in the 1900s, in the early 1900s, you could call it that, where people were going by intuition. But now it is very, very figured out. And we have polling, we have psychologists, we have color coordinators and propaganda specialists and media specialists and a tremendous team behind that one guy you're seeing on stage.
A lot of logistics.
We mistakenly assign way too much credit and importance to the words the person's saying, which are most of them scripted, and the way they present themselves. And we think that this person, that we now know who this person is, when we don't. We don't know a thing about them any more than we know, what George Clooney's like, So if we can, but we're not even savvy enough to know that. Most of what I just said, I don't think most of the American public actually get that.
Yeah.
I could be wrong. Maybe most of them do. It's a little hard to tell that metric, but when you see a populist president, which Trump definitely is, rising up on a base of awful, if we're going to continue that and say that's the model we want and that's how it should be, it's going to very quickly start reflecting on us as a population that this is our ideal representative. And I don't want that. I don't want America to be positioned that way. I don't want American politics to devolve any more than it has. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm old school. Maybe, I'm 50 years old. So maybe, I'm just kind of should be put out to pasture. And this is the way things should be now. But I'm going to push back against it because I think it loses the things that, even if they were not totally, even if their integrity could be called into question, even if they were actors to some degree, even if it is a show, I want a show that reflects honor and dignity and honesty and truth.
Yeah.
And we don't have that right now. And Trump has kind of ruined that. It's been a long, steady progress. Like you said, Trump's a symptom. He's not the cause. But there's a lot of vectors in play here. And I think we really need to move this train in a more civilized direction. But that's just my thing on it. So I thought I wanted to say those words.
No, from a personal point, Chris, one of your approach, the fact that you spend an awful lot of time thinking about thinking, I would be something similar about that, and I really do appreciate your approach, which is why I reached out and asked you tonight. Spackle did get the secret signal. I'm not going to tell her which one it was, but go on, Spackle. You can have a wee point. Go on.
I hate motherfucking Biden. I think he's trash. But that being said, he's still better than Trump. Please vote for Biden. Don't just because you think he's trash. Like, I'm a pro Bernie person, but like, he's still better than Trump. Please do not get disheartened and not vote because that's what I'm afraid of, is that many people on the left are just not going to turn out and be like, fuck it all. And we're taking to the streets. There's a lot of people I know that are protesting and participating on that and saying that they're not going to vote. And please go out and vote.
I will add to that, okay? Just for everything.
I'm leaving you to the last, Dave, because you're not worth it.
I've got nothing important to say. That the lesser of two evils is less fucking evil.
Neoliberalism is better than fucking fascism. Vote!
Yes.
Leo, is that your point, or would you like to extend upon that, and then we'll go to Mel?
Are these like the final words, or is this?
Yes.
Okay, so can I shill a little bit?
Of course, after you do your final words, everybody will get a chance to shill. Do your final words.
Okay, so these aren't final. Okay, so vote. I mean, well, obviously we have a problem with the two-party duopoly and neoliberalism in this country, but you know what's worse than that? Fascism, fucking fascism. Get rid of the fucking fascists. We can worry about the problems we have after we get rid of the fucking fascists. Get rid of the fascists. Vote the fucking fascist out. I shouldn't have to say this. Fascism is not better than neoliberalism. Vote the fucking fascist out. Just vote him out. Vote the fascists out. Stop the fascism. Stop the fucking fascism.
We can start tearing down the neoliberalism after we deal with the fascists. That's
exactly.
I'm just wondering, should we stop the fascism?
Oh yeah,
probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Considering that Leo's camera nearly shook off the fucking table, I think that's true. Mel, would you like to speak?
Wait. I'm unclear. What was the position on fascism?
I'm not sure. I think
not totally clear on that one.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
Water's a little muddy there.
I've gotten a bit of pushback about, and people call me vote shamers for saying, please don't vote third party. If you are torn and you don't know who to vote for, Donald Trump or Joe Biden, if you're really not certain, then vote third party, because I don't want you to vote for Donald Trump. Okay. If you feel like you might vote for Donald Trump, vote for a third party instead. Do that. Serve your country that way. And I get we're in a pretty crappy situation where we have the 2-party system. We really need like a 3 to 5 party system. I'm all for that. But now is not the time to do that, particularly if you're in a historically red state. Okay, if you're in a blue state, that's a privilege to be able to vote according to your conscience. I don't get to do that where I live because of the freaking electoral college. I don't get to do that. So I have to take one for the team, throw my conscience out the window, and vote to get the fascists out of office. So before you come to my freaking Twitter timeline and start blasting my freaking mention saying, you're vote shaming me, check your freaking privilege, please.
Beautiful.
Check your privilege. Okay? I live in the Bible Belt. I'm on a street with a bunch of Trump supporters. I don't get to put a sign in my yard because I think I might die. Okay? So put that aside, vote out the fascists, and then we'll get to work on getting a 3 to 5 party system. That's all I gotta say.
By the way, I followed you on Twitter and subscribed to your YouTube channel.
Only now.
Thank you so much for that. I will follow back, and I'll find you and everything.
You won't be able to find me with a YouTube search. My channel, I don't have any. I just got my new phone to be able to verify my channel, so hopefully sometime next week I can start rolling the content out. But I do have my YouTube channel linked in my Twitter bio.
Okay, cool. I will follow back. Thank you.
Awesome.
Well, on that, I did say to you, Leo, I think about a month ago when I said you and Jez, when you get yourself sorted, give me a shout out, and I'll give you a hand. And Brian and a few other people here will give me some credit and say, yeah, no, I can give you a hand now. So, on the topic of tonight, personally, from an outside view, I watch American politics and have since the middle of 2015. I got into it because of Trump. From a political point of view in our country, in Northern Ireland, we didn't even have a government. We were losing our government. It was falling apart, and I needed something funny to laugh at. Trump decided to run for president. It was a sitcom. It has become from a sitcom to now sort of a dystopian idea of is it 1984? You know, it has turned from something what used to be a giggle, if you take it to extremes. It has now become the extremes. And outside looking in, I'm going to be hypocritical and say, vote. I know in my country, at the minute I only vote on very certain things. I know I'm going to be hypocritical, but go out in America and vote. It is something that will make a change. America as a whole is a leadership country. It does set a precedent on certain things. The fact that Trump and the country the way it is, from a personal point of view in Northern Ireland, what I said before stream and what I've put up with Mel, you heard some of the things, and Stephen, you heard some of the things that I know that particular guy 10 years, and only in this last couple of weeks have I started to work with him again. But over the course of what he was 10 years ago to what he is now, he is saying these things, and it's a propagation from one country. And if America can change, there is an awful lot of potential there. There really, really is. And if you can set a precedent for the rest of the world in a good way, people do jump on the American train. You know, that people learn English from watching movies. It's just the way the fucking world is. I know, it's great, isn't it? It's just the way the world is. And if America can get their fucking act together I do believe that it will set a precedent for the rest of the world. So, on that note, has anybody anything that they would like to scream and shout about Leo?
Yeah, so tomorrow on Speed of Sound of Gravity's channel at 2 p.m. Yes, 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We
That's
have
7 UK, 1 Central.
Yeah, we have Demeter on, who is a PhD molecular biologist and active origins of life researcher on, talking with the one and only Aaron Ra. Not Aaron Ra, Aaron Ra. I just want to clarify that. So check him out. Check out his channel every morning. He does a weather report talking about the idiocy that is the YouTube creationists. Specifying on a group that we call the Brotherhood, which would be like Smokey Saint, John Maddox, Nephilim, Russell. We call them the Brotherhood because they call each other brother, and it also kind of plays to their inherent misogyny. I have a YouTube channel as well, Leophilius, spelled there on the screen. I also have a Twitter, @Leophilius, spelled on the screen. Since I just got my new phone, I still have the...
Did you change it back because for a fucking week or something there, it was a completely language that I did not understand, your Twitter handle?
Oh, no, my Twitter handle is the time-dependent Schrodinger equation, but that's something different. I'll end up explaining what that is in a YouTube video later once I can verify my channel, which I can do now because I have my phone with the glorious Amelia Clark as my background.
I just hope it's an Android, but we'll move on.
Well, it is. Yeah, it's Google Pixel 4a. So check me out, subscribe. Nice. Content hopefully should start rolling out next week. And as always, stan Amelia Clark.
Anybody else anything to shill?
I just want to say shout out and congratulations to Nate Brody for passing 30K and climbing. Well deserved.
Spackle, do me a favor. I have sent him 2 Twitter messages. Tell that man that I'm looking to get him on the channel. I've also reached out to Drag, and Drag's like he's really busy, and then I see him in like 6 streams.
Oh, okay. Well, I will see what they say.
I might be able to get Dragnot on your channel. I know somebody that knows him really well.
I've already had Dragnot on.
I know him very well.
Yeah.
You did have Drag on before. What the fuck am I saying?
Spackle is actually the head moderator of his... But anyway, alright, moving on anyway and all that bullshit. Mel, have you anything? You've got your hand up.
Sure. So Saturdays I do science. I talk about different science things. Sometimes I focus on a particular topic. Sundays at 7 p.m. Central, sometimes 7:30 p.m. depends on Mero's schedule. With Nervardia, I do This Week in BS. Last week we talked about Mrs. Waterford, also known as Amy Coney Barrett.
Amy Coney Island?
Yeah, her, that one. We talked about her and why it is that women participate in their oppression, the science behind that. So we broke that down. Normally it's a comedy type of show, but I felt like we really needed to break that down, and it was a bit rough, but we got there. But yeah, do check it out. Saturday at 10 a.m. Central, I do the Science of, which I've been doing for a few years now. So
are you on anything tomorrow, Mel?
Do what?
Are you on anything tomorrow?
I'm not. Okay, so sometimes I do a game
quickly.
Quickly. Sometimes I do a game show called Self-Isolation Shenanigans. I can't tomorrow because I have a meeting with work. And so
now remember the other thing you're on.
Yes, and I'm also on Dave's show for questions where we answer his questions, and sometimes they're really weird and it's funny sometimes, so check that out.
Ribs whinging like a wee fucking bitch in the private chat.
I am not whinging. I just said that I had some shit to say.
Go on.
Yeah, okay, so just to kind of take like a few kind of pointers from like what people have said. Yeah, absolutely go and vote. I know that I didn't have the greatest kind of introduction to the whole Biden v. Trump thing. I've done debates on why you shouldn't vote for Biden. I'm not after doing a complete 180. I do think that if I was in the US and if I did have to go and vote for Biden, I'd probably do it with tears in my eyes. I wouldn't be happy about doing it, but look, there we go. It's just the situation that we are presented with. Not to kind of take away, if you you feel like you can't, absolutely vote third party. It's not giving a vote to Biden, but it's also not giving one to Trump. What am I doing next? Well, I don't know, because as usual, my schedule is a little bit fucked. However, tomorrow at some point when I wake up and start to become a normal human and start functioning for the day. Tomorrow, I will be doing a podcast on my channel. I'm going to be doing it solo, but I'm going to be doing like a HEPA topic. So it's a whole thing. So yeah, I don't know what time that'll be, but yeah.
You're really good at this shilling, you know, you really are. Chris, have you had a chance to shout out and shill anything?
Yeah, no, I'll show. Podcast this weekend is about Operation Paperclip. And
I'm really sure you did a show on that before, didn't you?
Yeah, I did one with yes. So this time I did it on my channel. And
I know the producer you had on that last show.
Yeah, that was a good one. Anyway, that was the testing grounds. Then this one, another friend of mine and I got into it.
Amanda's gonna fucking stab you for saying that. She's gonna.
No, I told her about it already. She already knew all about that. So, all good. Anyway, that's the content I'm shilling right now. If you want to know about, cults, destructive influences, high control groups, authoritarianism, coercive control, that kind of stuff, that's my channel. That's what I talk about. So.
And if I can, Chris also does a call-in show, Critical Thinking, is it?
Critical Conversations. Yeah.
Critical Conversations, yes. So many critical things out there. It's like a buzzword at the minute.
But, isn't it?
Well, yeah. Last night we actually did a whole show about Amy Barrett and whether the People of Praise is a cult or not. That was an interesting.
Religious?
It was, what's that?
Are they religious?
People of Praise? Oh yeah, very much so. They're charismatic.
And they are a cult, because cult and religious are synonyms.
Yeah.
Well, if I can also do a shout out for Manda, as always, Manda had to dip out and look after Angel. He fell off the skateboard. Plus, he's been bleeding randomly out of his nose and mouth. It's been quite bad this last couple of days. So
I'm sure he wants you to announce that publicly.
I don't give a fuck. She said it announcedly she was going to look at it. She said it a couple of times. Now you've made a point about it, and everybody will remember because you're the asshole, Dave. So. Sub to Manda, once a month she has the Secular Sunday shows with a lot of good content creators. Her most recent one was very, very good, something similar to tonight, which was Christianity in American politics. There was Dark Matter there, and Chris was there, and definitely a good show. And I will be back, what day is it? Thursday? We will be back on some stage Monday or Wednesday. I will have an interview. I haven't sorted a guest yet, but Monday or Wednesday we will have an interview. So, yeah.
One of those days.
Pardon?
I said one of those days.
One of those days, yeah, definitely. One of those days we will have an interview. So, on that note, everybody, thank you very much for coming.
What about Brian? What about Brian?
Brian, who's Brian? Brian who? Do you know what it actually is? Right? I'll be desperately honest. Do you know what it is? I have moved, Dave knows and Brian knows this, I have moved the studio around, and Brian is in the very bottom left-hand corner camera. So he literally is out of my peripheral vision. So it's not that I'm forgetting about him. He just doesn't jump about enough to catch my attention.
Well, I'm going to start by
Jazz hands.
By shilling further Amanda too, because we haven't got a time set yet, but we had to reschedule with Erica Gibbon. For we have the science, so that should be next week. I'm thinking it's going to be probably the 14th, or not the 14th. I'm sorry, the 7th. But we haven't set a time or date yet, so I don't want to get too froggy on that. On the 10th, we will be continuing the monsters in the Bible. We will be talking about the other gods, and we are going to have special guest of Dr. Josh on there, Josh Bowen, and then let's see here. This coming Saturday, I should do a debunking video. So we'll see what happens with that. That's at 1 p.m. every Saturday. I try to do something at that time slot. So after Mel's science, you can come and watch me for more science. Let's see. And then the 13th, I'm back on The Perspective, which is another call-in show. So that's my future.
Okay. Everybody, just so I check now, so I haven't missed anybody. Has everybody had their bit?
Dave.
Me.
Dave's useless, and everybody knows about Dave anyway. But Dave, go on ahead.
Special question tomorrow night.
What time?
Oh shit.
4:30 Eastern.
EST.
I blocked it. Do you want me to pull up my schedule? Because I blocked it out.
No, it's alright. It's 4:30.
It's 4:30 Eastern, 9:30 UK, and 3:30 Central. Dave, it is very simple. It's 5 and 6 and 7 for. So everybody, before we lose control of the whole thing, thank you all for coming, and hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, do all that. I know it says 822 on screen, but I'm a little higher than that. It hasn't caught up yet, and on the road to 1K. I'm no Nate Brody, but come on, seriously, like fucking.
Congratulations, you have more subs than I do, and unfortunately, I grew in subs just by talking crap with Exiled about Steve McRae, and I was really sad about that.
Right, well, we have to end. She said the magic words.
Are you saying that you've got Steve McRae to thank for your subs?
Oh!
No. I just think it's unfortunate.
It's getting twisted.
Oh, I got him.
It's all getting twisted in context, and people are going to quote mine this. It's all going to get quote mined. Right, on that note, everybody, thank you very much for coming. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you to the panel for being part of everything here. And on that note, we will oink, we will out. Just if everybody hasn't, we're still live. If anybody hasn't, pop over and watch The Rage versus the Red Stapler Man. That's going to be absolutely hilarious. The Rage